Hey guys, Robbie Rowland here. So in regards to my bias and arm path simplicity or hand path simplicity, I've been trying to come up with new modalities or tools to utilize that will provide kind of good feedback, right? Because I think the last thing that we want to do when we're trying to make essentially a pretty drastic overhaul, if you're anything like me, going from pretty long hand path, multiple checkpoints to kind of go through with your hands as far as separate, down, back, up, and go, and then overhauling it to just separate and then retract and then go. Okay, so we don't want to overload the brain with sensory input. So like I said, I'm a huge fan of trying to just incorporate little things that we can just do and then train those motor control patterns, right? So that's the biggest piece of emphasis that I want to really hit on, is like the motor control patterns, man. If you're anything like me, you've been throwing a certain way for so long, and now we're trying to overhaul it and make these modifications, within maybe a couple months. So got to be intentional with the motor control patterns that we're instilling from here on out, right? So in regards to the modalities, I've talked a lot about like the usage of bell clubs, Oat Specialties bell clubs, and just in regards to kind of how the utilization of the leverage of a club is really centered to your body. You're not going to be able to leverage the club if you get too disconnected and try to rotate back here or so on and so forth. So it's like, I think for me, and the feedback that I get, is the ability to kind of instill motor control patterns of being connected with your hands. This is a 2 kilo. I would encourage people with the throwing progressions, the dry throwing progressions, to utilize a 1 kilo. Okay, so 1 kilo, and we can just start our throwing, just dry throws, right? Where you're including rhythm into that retraction. You can kind of go here, separation, and then go. So this is what it's going to look like. Boom, back, throw, right? And so the way that the club is shaped, it allows me to really feel that separation and then keep this kind of flexion here into my throw. So you'll just notice like the simplicity of that hand path with the bell club. Honestly, another thing, tennis racket, kind of the same thing, utilizing that leverage, and plus it's definitely light, which could provide pretty good feedback for you as well. Because I think anytime that you're throwing or doing like a tennis serve, your body's going to align itself pretty dang powerfully, right? So you're not going to get super long and then come back and then come up, right? You're going to be efficient with your movements and maximize the leverage. So that's another one with a tennis racket. And then probably my personal favorite is a connection ball, and let's see, a connection ball and a counterbalance, or one or the other, or both at the same time, doesn't matter, right? So I talk a lot about the uses of counterbalance and how I believe that they provide that front side stability, which then kind of syncs us up a lot better. You've heard the term equal opposite with what the glove arm does, the throwing arm does, and vice versa. I think if we overload the glove arm and the glove side, we get more generally compacted. Okay, we get compacted here, simplified here. We're going to get simplified back here. But just to provide more feedback, like I said, utilizing the connection ball, maintaining that flexion that I talked about earlier with the club. This kind of, again, just another thing that provides that good feedback. Throwing hand, get a ball. The goal is not to move robotic, right? So like I said, you can do it with or without a counterbalance. I use like a 2 or a 3 pound. Older guys are probably going to need a heavier one, younger guys, lighter one. But remember, we're just trying to move efficiently, being athletes, not be robotic, but still train those motor control patterns, right? So you overload the front side, you give the feedback of kind of staying in flexion after hand separation to allow your hands to stay more connected to the center of mass, and then you just kind of throw. All right, so huge fan, obviously, of connection ball stuff, counterbalance stuff. But again, I will admit to every single one of you guys that ask me in regards to bias, and I will admit that I am 100% biased when it comes to simplification of the arm path, simplification of the hand path, staying connected, staying in kind of like a 90-degree flexion. I'm biased because of what it's done for me, so I want to kind of teach it to a lot of different guys. But everyone's going to throw differently, everyone's going to move differently. I completely understand that, so it is what it is. All right, hopefully that made sense, and talk to you guys later.